I was reading somewhere, his idol is Dara Singh. Correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned this somewhere in some interview. His idol is Dara Singh, and he actually has, I think, built a body which is better than Dara Singh's, if I'm not mistaken. So he's such a multifaceted personality. I was asking the organizers a while ago. There are some 136 speakers who've been flown in, local as well from across the country, for this literary festival here. So I was singularly lucky or fortunate to have Bharat with me for this session, right? Out of the 136, I didn't choose him, I was chosen for him. So that's destiny. And just glancing through what he has been doing all the while, there are striking parallels. I was talking to him. One, both of us started as client servicing people in different agencies, of course. Of course, he's been there, I'm here, right? So, yeah, client servicing, and then veered into the creative areas of writing. That he's been the boxing champion of his university, right? Or the college. Was it the university? Yes. And of course, I was the boxing champion of my school, Gwalior, Sindhya. So there are a lot of parallels I saw, and I said, this is uncanny. But then when I was speaking to him yesterday, I was in Pune yesterday, and I just called him up. He said, I'm in Pune too. So I said, what for? He says he was shooting something. We'll of course get into the gravy train of advertising, etc. at a later point. But he was shooting for something in Pune. So Bharat, let's start from there itself. What keeps you occupied, and what are these shoots that you are involved with right now?
Anything that comes my way keeps me occupied. Whatever people offer me, I take. Shooting, if people offer... There are two actors in this Bollywood who only do 2 films in a year. Amir Khan and me. The difference is Amir Khan gets about 2,000 films offered to him. He does 2 films. I get 2 films offered, I do whatever is offered.
So what was this project yesterday?
So yesterday we are doing a trilingual film. This guy Paritosh Painter, who had done this film called Dhamal, he's doing a trilingual film, Marathi, Hindi and English. And there is Johnny Lever and Siddharth Jadhav and all these people. Vijay Patkar, nice
So it's a
cast.
trilingual film.
So we were shooting in Pune, we were shooting in Faltan and Pune. We finished yesterday at some 12 o'clock in the night and drove down to Mumbai and came here.
Okay. So
So I do this, films is just a pastime. That's not of great interest to me.
But you've also been doing a lot of web series and all those things.
No, I do films in, I've done film in Hindi, Marathi, Tamil with Rajnikant and Telugu with Nagarjuna and Malayalam with Mohanlal and Dilip. So I can act equally badly in 6 languages.
So you know how
but
humble
I prefer
he is.
acting in South Indian films because there if I act badly, they feel that I'm acting badly because I don't understand the language. In Marathi and Hindi, they know that I understand the language and I still act badly.
So unless you're given a Filmfare award, you won't agree that you do a good job with it, right? So, you know, if anyone asks me about the Amul girl, we all have seen the Amul, we've grown up, okay, whatever our age, we've grown up with the Amul girl. Okay, she may have been initially conceived by someone else, but if Amul girl went to a school, it was a Dabholkar school, right? That's where she learned the other languages of India and became Indianized. So let's hear, of course, that's the...
See, Amul, I don't know how many of you know what Amul stands for, the word Amul. Amul stands for Anand Milk Union Limited. So it was started years ago, and when Amul was launched by the farmers of Gujarat, Polson's was the biggest brand of butter in the country. And the girl was conceived by Mr. Sylvester Dicuna, who was handling that advertising at that time. And there was, I believe, I never met him, a person called Eustace Fernandez, who drew the first Amul girl. And Mr. Dicuna wrote the jingle for the Amul, where the last 2 lines were, Amul is the answer to your wishes. It's utterly, butterly delicious. So it was much before my time it was on. When I joined advertising and I started working on it, I think my only contribution was, I handled it for over 15 years, but was that I Indianized the Amul girl. And I made it more topical. They used to change the hoarding once in 2 months. When I took it over, I started changing it once every 7 days or 10 days. And I would do a hoarding in Marathi, English, Gujarati, Tamil, Bengali. So I think I made it more Indian. So but the credit for whatever Amul is, was and will be, doesn't go to people like us. So you can find creative people penny a dozen. The credit goes to a man called Dr. Kurian. He was the world's best client you could get. When he called
Are there any clients here? Please listen to him.
He called us and said, look, I have a choice of some 400 agencies I can choose from. We've chosen your agency. I understand nothing in advertising. I understand milk and milk products. So don't show me what you do. The reason why Amul was so successful, so topical, was because we had a client like this. For instance, if we were sitting here today and if there was a match going on, and if somebody scored a century, I would think of a line, phone up the office and say, do a drawing like this. Tell the media guys to put a scaffolding, whitewash the hoarding and keep it. And by the time the newspapers came out tomorrow, there would be a joke on that century on Amul hoarding. And people couldn't understand how it was done because it was painted overnight. That could only happen because of a client like Dr. Kurian. We didn't have to go and meet him tomorrow and get his approval.
So no approvals at all? No approvals?
In the agency also, except for me, the guy who drew the girl and the media guy who sent the artwork, nobody knew what the Amul hoarding was.
So weren't there various layers that you would probably go through within
There
the
were no
agency?
layers.
Account director,
There were no layers. It was just three of us.
Okay.
So Amul became popular because of that. It was a topicality. If I had to go to a client tomorrow morning and show it to him and they would say, good idea, but let's have a look at an alternative. Then I would do an alternative and it'll go to Tuesday. Then again, I'll go on Tuesday. Then he'll say, damn good, but can we have a look at a different background color? Then that'll go to Wednesday. So by Thursday, if the hoarding comes up, it's no more topical.
Meaning, yeah, it's lost all meaning.
Because it comes out tomorrow, it has that topicality.
So the counter question that comes to mind is, if that kind of a client allowed you complete freedom and therefore Amul Butter was a brilliant, great success, is a great success even today, why weren't other agencies handling other Amul brands, like for example chocolates, etc., equally big successes? They would also probably have the same client and same freedom.
Yeah. No, but the market situation, see, advertising is not as simple as what we did for Amul Butter. Amul Butter had 85% market share. So we could have that fun on the hoardings. I launched other products for Amul. I launched Amul Milk. I launched Amul Chas, Lassi, milkshakes. There we couldn't do this. There we didn't have to show it to the client, but we had to go to a whole process of advertising, finding out what is happening, which are the brands that we are fighting against, do a research. So that went through the whole process of what normally an advertising campaign goes through, which Amul Butter was the only product in that whole category where we didn't have to do that.
You've done so many of those Amul hoardings. Which ones, I know, for mother, all children are alike, one stands out for you, something that was really, really brilliant in your opinion, the one?
No. I would do about 45 hoardings in a year.
Yeah, so any one that you felt, yeah, this is
years.
brilliant.
Every time I wrote something, I thought it was brilliant. And after 15 days, I looked back, I thought it was pretty bad, and I could have done better. There were lots of them. I remember when there was when Zahir Abbas was scoring from Pakistan, he was scoring a century in every match that he played against us in a series in Pakistan. So I did a hoarding which said Zahir Abbas.
I remember this one.
And have some utterly batterly Amul. And there was a match in Karachi and Zahir got out for 14 runs. So we put a banner on the hoarding saying, thank you, Zahir, for listening to Amul and getting out.
That's wonderful.
So we used to do all these we used to have great fun doing that.
Continuing that, they're probably doing a hoarding a couple of days now. They become that far. Amul Girl, Amul Butter. They're doing a hoarding in 3 days, 4 days, sometimes just the other day, something topical. But how do you think it is in terms of comparison with what you all did and what is happening now?
Very honestly, I mean, should I give a diplomatic answer or should
You're known to be blunt.
Answer?
You're known to be blunt.
I think what they're doing right now is mostly pretty bad. And I'll tell you why. Because Amul is an advertising campaign. The whole purpose of Amul is to advertise and have a link with the butter. It's not always possible, but if I was doing, say, 45, 50 hoardings in a year, my effort would be to make sure that I link it up to a butter somewhere. So like if I'm saying Zahir Abbas, I would say, and have some utterly batterly Amul.
Right.
So it was linked up to that.
Correct.
Nowadays, I find what they're doing is they're just doing funny lines. There's no connect to the butter. They're just comments on what's happening. No, Amul Butter is not something that makes a social comment. It has to have a connect to the butter. So I think that is what they're missing out.
Product relevance.
They're not striving hard enough, I think.
Okay. But I don't know whether you're still connected with the company in some way or the other. Does the culture still remain the same? That doesn't go to the client and they've got free, Dakunas has got freedom to do?
Dr. Kurian had set up that thing that nobody will interfere with what is happening in advertising because we don't know enough of advertising. So nobody interferes.
Even today. That's wonderful. That's nice. So, for people who are striving, the young students, about 60% of the hall I see are young students striving to be in advertising. He's made such an important point. Please note that if the advertising, and even David Ogilvy said that the advertising doesn't have to attract attention to itself, but the sole job of advertising is to sell the product. So even the hoarding may be very clever what they're doing now, but the product connect has been lost. Am I right, Bharat,
Which
in
is
saying
what I
this?
think is going wrong with a lot of digital
Yeah,
advertising
we're
now.
going to be talking about that too. Yes.
Digital, what is happening is, we had this limit of 30 seconds. We had to do entertain, sell, do whatever we wanted in about 20 to 30 seconds. So we had limitation of time. When digital advertising came, social media advertising came, you can do a film for 3 minutes or 4 minutes. So people have started doing wonderfully emotional films now, 4 minute films. But the product comes at the end of the film. And if you remove that product and replace it with somebody else, it will still hold true.
True.
And so I think these are great films. These are not great advertising campaigns. See, a good advertising campaign has to grow out of the product. You remove the product and the campaign shouldn't stand. I've seen lots of these. I saw recently some 3 films of Chitnavis of Pune. Brilliant advertising films, brilliant films. But if you remove the Chitnavis in the end and put some PN jewelers, it'll still be as good. Which means it's not a good campaign. It's a good film. So I think what is happening is this 4 or 5 minute time that people are getting now, they're all taking out their creative juices to do
Right,
some great
right.
emotional films, and they get brilliant actors to do it. But that's not what makes a good campaign.
You gave me an example while we were talking in the courtyard below about that Fevikwik. So if you can relate to
Like
that.
Fevikwik, all of you must have seen that. It's an old ad of that farmer, that fisherman sitting there, and he puts 4 drops of Fevikwik on the thing and catches 4 fish. Now, if Fevikwik was removed from that, the ad doesn't stand.
Yeah.
It's around Fevikwik and the properties of Fevikwik. These digital advertising aren't doing that.
They can, but probably
They
they're not.
can, but they're not. They are getting into this whole creative thing of showing how beautifully they can do a film.
You were also mentioning the Cred film, yeah.
The cred campaign, the initial campaign, I think was very good from
Yeah.
the recent lot that I've seen. But a good campaign has to stand. The product has to be the central point of that campaign. That means if the product is removed, the campaign shouldn't make sense.
Should actually not stand at all. So, youngsters, again, the whole point here is advertising is not to draw attention to itself, not to only entertain, but and only but sell the product. That is not
See,
happening.
advertising is not fine arts.
Yeah, yeah.
A painting is a fine art. A poetry is fine art. You can do what you want to do. Advertising is commercial art. You are here to sell a product, which means that you're asking someone to pay money and buy that. So you are a part of marketing. This is not to show your creativity.
Right.
That's why advertising has to be as simple as it can. The most effective advertising is the simplest advertising.
Correct, correct.
The best advertising board which I had seen was in Hong Kong. It said, seedless grapes, very sweet, available here. I thought that was the best campaign I've seen, best line I've seen. If an advertising guy like me had to do it, we would say, nature's beautiful bounty now brought to you in its most pristine form, which means nothing to anyone.
Fails, yeah, completely.
But we would try and be creative. You want to say seedless grapes? Say seedless grapes. You want to say they're sweet? Say they are sweet. Why get into trying to make it poetic? So everybody in advertising, people feel that if you're in advertising, you can't write what everybody else can write. You must do something better.
Exactly.
Which is where it goes
so
wrong.
How would you balance this with differentiation? For example, there would be 10 guys selling those seedless sweet grapes. If all of them said the same thing, how would you build brands? How would you differentiate?
I'll tell you, I launched a hit cockroach. The red.
Yeah.
No, the month we were launching hit, they were also launching, Bayer was launching Big On. The Bayer is a far bigger company. Bayer had, I think, 10 times the budget that we had. So they made some 8 fantastic films about how to kill cockroaches. A lady sitting there, her child is playing someplace, and the hand extends and goes and does all that. What we did is we had, in our newspaper ads, I remember, if you opened the paper on the left side, was full of cockroaches. We had shot actual cockroaches. They looked as if they're crawling on the paper.
Yeah.
And it said cockroach, cockroach. On the right side, it was fully white with just a red hit can. And it said hit cockroach, no cockroach. The point is, you don't have to tell people that cockroaches are bad. They know it's bad. That's why they're buying the damn product. So why waste time telling them that cockroaches cause diseases, they're pretty bad. Just say cockroach, hit cockroach, no cockroach. If you can do that, you cut through the clutter.
You know why he got those 11 awards? 11, am I right?
14.
14, my mistake. So 14 awards for his, and which were they? If you can just tell us a little more about that.
No, 14. For Amul Butter, I won 14, and then other things I won.
Which
That's
were
not
these?
the point.
These were the
The point
Abbeys?
is, simplicity is what I'm trying to say is don't try and be creative, try and be simple. Advertising is a arm of marketing. So one is stick to what you are paid for, stick to what you are there for. In fact, in the last 1 month, I've gone on many television debates when that Tanishq ad came up and
Yeah.
then that some other ad came up. And I kept on making the point that advertising's job is to sell a product. We are not here to make a social comment. We are not here to talk about future of whether it is Hindu Muslim unity or whatever. We are here to sell a product. Don't get into all that. You have 30 seconds. Stick to selling your product and tell the consumer our product is better than your product and make them buy it. It is films can do all this. Theater can do all this. They can get into social reforms, unity. That's not our job. Our job is to sell a product, and we must never forget that.
So you're also known as the father of English, like you've also mentioned. But and this has really caught on. And there are so many English ads being done, whether they make sense or don't make sense currently. How do you rate them?
See, I think advertising has more creative people than they had during our times. There are more youngsters. Advertising is actually a business of young people.
Right.
It's all about innovation. You have to keep on thinking of new things. So it's young people who can think better of new things. I think there are today more creative people, young creative people in advertising than during our times. I think there are bad clients nowadays. You know, we had clients like, as I said, Dr.
Yeah.
Kurian. We had, I used to handle all Tata Tea brands. I launched all of them at Tetley. So we had Mr. Krishna Kumar, who was the managing director of Tata Tea. I launched all the Parley brands. So we had Mr. Chauhan. They gave us a complete free hand. I think today's youngsters need to go through different layers of approval.
Oh, that's very sad. Yeah.
So you go to somebody, there's an advertising manager, then there's a marketing manager, then the general manager marketing, then there's a managing director. So that idea gets fractured by the time
Completely.
you go out.
Like,
So it's not the fault of the creative people, it's the fault of the clients. I think if the clients improve, the advertising will improve.
but I think to some extent the situation was bad even then, because if you remember legendary David Ogilvy's book, he says that most of the advertising that comes out looks like a committee's minute to the meeting report.
Yeah, in fact, on my email, if I send it to you, there's a permanent line which says, a camel is a horse designed by a committee.
Yeah.
If a committee says, let's design a horse, they'll never have a horse. Somebody will say, let's make the legs a little longer. Somebody will say, let's give him a hump on the back so he can hold on to it. So at the end of it, you won't get a horse, you'll get a camel.
True.
So a committee should never get into approving advertising. There should be a one man, whoever is in charge of that. See, what happens is advertising works on two principles. One is that I keep bombarding your mind with it. If you're watching an IPL match, after every over, you will see that ad coming. It's irritating, but that brand name, the slogan makes an impact on your mind. When you see on social media a 4-minute fantastic film, next time you're not going to again sit and watch that film for 4 minutes. You know what the film is about. So that reputation goes away. And if there's no reputation, there's no brand recall. It has to be constantly hitting your mind. And because you have limited budgets, the point that you made, you need to be different. If Amul, when they launched it as a farmers cooperative, if they had gone the same way any other butter goes, that we have beautiful, very tasty, golden colored butter which will make your breakfast very tasteful, it wouldn't have worked. They had to do something completely different. No, you can never tell that. There are parameters they say, but see, advertising, you may have a fantastic ad which will create a sort of a awareness in the consumer's mind. But if it's not distributed properly, if it is not priced properly, you won't buy it. Let's say you see an ad for a fantastic shampoo, and then you go and you want to buy it, it's not available in the shop. You will buy something else. You're not going to keep on going from shop to buy that. So distribution, pricing, everything, packaging, everything comes into it. Advertising is just a small part of it. It can create awareness. It can create a want. But it does not mean that if you have a great ad, that means you'll have a great sales from that. Other factors have to come in.
Another thing I wanted to ask you is, now this Amul girl has lasted maybe 4-5 decades. How long into the future do you see her being relevant?
As long as they keep it doing creatively, it'll go on. I'll tell you what happens with live models. They have a limited lifespan because those like I had launched Nutramul, which is another brand of Amul's, and I had launched it with Jugal Hansraj, who was a child at that time. But when he grew up, we couldn't use him. We had to get somebody else. So advertising with animated figures can go on forever if they're creative. But advertising with that's why Lux, the Lux Supreme,
Yeah.
which their line was Filmi Sitaron ka
Saundarya
sabun.
sabun.
The line continued. The Filmi Sitare kept on changing. So if Madhuri Dixit was famous at that time, they would use her. Then if she became not relevant and Katrina Kaif was, so the line remained the same, that film stars use this soap. But the film stars kept on changing. You have to keep doing that. This Amul Butter, that girl can go on forever.
So now, sticking to the advertising part of it, how did you while you were a child going through school, college, did you always wanted to be in advertising, or it was much
No,
later?
I,
And
I
how did
never
you?
wanted to be in advertising.
Yeah.
From my childhood till today, my lifelong ambition was to be a police officer. I want to do the IPS exam.
Okay.
That was my ambition.
Okay.
And I'm a lawyer by education. I'm a lawyer, I'm a business management graduate. Advertising was never
On
my
your radar at all.
interest, no.
Yeah.
I just got into it and then
So
stuck
how
to
did
it.
it happen?
I was working as a management trainee in one of the Tata companies, Forbes Campbell. And they have many companies. And they have all these agencies used to come and make presentations to them. And I used to keep on looking at them and saying, that's pretty bad. Yeah, I can do better than this. This is not good at all. So these guys would come and tease me and say, then instead of sitting and talking, why don't you join an agency and create the campaigns? So I started applying to agencies and nobody wanted me. They said, you're a lawyer, why should we take you? What have you got to do in advertising? Then thankfully somebody hired me. So reluctantly I got into advertising.
So the first agency that
I would still, when I meet these police commissioners and things like that, I still feel bad that I didn't become one of those. And I look more like a policeman than they do.
Oh, you do that's for sure. Have you played a policeman's character in some film or series?
Yeah, I just did in Dabang 3 I did.
Oh, okay.
A 2-minute role. That's because Salman is a friend of mine. So when he launched Dabang 3, I told him, congratulations. I always do that. So he sent me a message saying, you want to play a cop, na? They had started the shooting. The shooting was going on in Indore.
Okay.
So I said, yeah, maybe in Dabang 4. But he's Salman Khan. If he tells those guys, give Bharat the role, they bloody well stop the film and give Bharat the role. So I get a call from 4 people saying, sir, आप इंदौर कब आ सकते हैं? I said, क्या है? He said, आपको पुलिस का रोल देना है. I said, फिल्म चालू हो गई आप? He said, नहीं सर, भाई ने बोला है कि आपको बुलाने का.
भाई ने बोला.
So I just went there, I stand behind him, I have some 2 lines to speak.
Okay.
Then he said, I'm doing a dance, Bharat. मुन्ना बदनाम हुआ. Dance करना उसके साथ. So I'm in the dance. If you see the dance, you'll see me dancing next to Salman.
Okay.
So this is,
that's hilarious and that's wonderful. Yeah, of course. So, okay, we'll get to that in greater detail in a while. But sticking to advertising for a moment again. So, from client servicing that you joined, your first agency was Dakunas, right?
Yeah.
And then you joined in client servicing. So, how did you graduate or shift?
See, as I said, I did my schooling in Marathi. That will come to later if you want.
Yes.
So I could speak Marathi. I read and write Marathi. I read and write and speak Gujarati. I speak Kutchi. I speak Hindi. So when I started doing advertising, we had great clients. We had LIC, Bank of India, State Bank of India, Amul, Herbertsons, which is Vijay Mallya's company. So I used to go there as a client servicing guy. And you know how creative guys are. They have their own egos.
Yeah, huge.
And things. So instead of sort of sitting and pleading with them, I started writing myself. And clients started approving that. So it was easy for everybody in the agency that this guy would go to the client, get a brief, write it himself and go and sell it. So that's how it sort of
He was
started.
fortunate to have started in a smaller
When you're in a smaller agency, that happens. In a bigger agency, they have watertight compartments. So a client servicing guy can't do creative, or a creative guy can't do this. They have watertight compartments.
Yes.
In a smaller agency, they're fluid.
So that helped you a little. So getting back to your early childhood again, which kind of school did you go to?
I went to a Marathi medium school. I did my entire schooling in Marathi. And I've said that thousands of times, but I'll say it again. I did my entire schooling in Marathi. I could not speak a single sentence in English till I came to college. And I joined Elphinstone College, which was one of those, that time Xavier's and Elphinstone were these super sophisticated South Bombay colleges. And I joined first year arts. And I had 145 prettiest girls in Mumbai in my class and 5 boys. Out of those 5 boys, one was blind. One was our principal's son. So his parents stayed on the top floor. So he couldn't be seen talking to girls because either his mother or father would be watching him and saying, Abhyas nahi karat ka firta, and all that. The third was very studious. He was only interested in studies. So that left 2 of us who were interested in girls. And you don't have to believe this, but I was better looking than that guy. But the problem is that guy could speak English. I couldn't speak a sentence. If a girl came to me and said, Bharat, do you want to bunk the next lecture and go for a film? I would answer that in my mind in Marathi first. मी आईला घरी जेवायला येतो म्हणून सांगितलंय, मी येऊ नाही शकत. Then I would translate that. I have told my mother I will be home for lunch, so I cannot come. Then I'd say it 2-3 times to make sure my pronunciations are right. So by the time I had an answer, that girl would go for a film and come back. So I had 145 reasons to learn English fast.
So there has to be a statutory warning to this. You don't have to believe everything that Bharat says.
So it's the truth. The only thing that happened was...
So he's censoring a lot of it, what films he went to and what he did, okay.
No, but this is a fact. What happened then was I realized that, all of us who come from vernacular medium schools, we know English. It's not that we don't know English. Yeah. We have a problem with spoken English because when we start speaking, we don't know what is the correct word to use in a sentence. So we feel shy. So I said, look, there's nothing like perfect English. Nobody in the world speaks perfect. There's nothing like perfect English. Even in England, there's a Scottish accent and an Irish accent and a Cockney accent and whatever. No, I know Marathi, I know Hindi, I know Gujarati. So I said, if I don't know English word, I'll use a Marathi word. So in my college, I started doing that. So in my sentences, I would use a Hindi word, Marathi word, Gujarati word. Thankfully, later on, somebody gave it a fashionable name and called it Hinglish.
English, yeah.
And said, Bharat Dabholkar is the father of English. I'm not a father. I had a handicap. I couldn't speak both those languages. So there's no kind of being a father of a language. I had no question. I had to do this. But that worked for me in college. It worked for me in advertising and it worked for me in theatre. This mixture of
languages. So coming to theatre now, I believe you were the only one because like advertising, the world before you, there were doyens of English like Frank Simos, etc., who were,
Alec Padamsee
and all, purebred in a way, right? So theatre was similar, right? English, I'm talking about English theatre.
I used to say it that time also, and I say it now. English theatre was like a Xerox machine. Whatever was happening in a foreign country, they would exactly bring it here, same costumes, same names, and do the same thing here. And you would get some Parsi actors, sir, and they would come and for the first 15 minutes, they would talk in proper English. Then they would get into Parsi accent. So that was the English theatre that time, So what happened was people who understood Marathi saw Marathi theatre. People who understood Gujarati saw Gujarati theatre. So people did not come to see an English play except for a few limited audience. So it couldn't do more than 20-25 shows.
Right.
So when I started doing theatre, I only took actors from regional theatre, from Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, and they were brilliant actors. English theatre never had actors of that caliber. Parsi theatre, we had people like Barjor Patel and Ruby Patel who were brilliant actors, Hosi Vasunia. No, English theatre didn't have those kind of actors. So my plays worked because of that.
So tell us more about your plays, therefore, those plays that you brought other language people into it and how they became stars in your own.
My first play I wrote was a play, I don't know, these people would not know, one of the legendary writers in Marathi is P.L. Deshpande. My first play was Tuza Hai Tuza Pashi was one of his biggest hits. I did that in English. I wrote to P.L. Deshpande and said, may I have your permission to do this play? I want to do it in English. Now that play had Urdu shairi in it. It had Bhagavad Gita shloks in it. So no producer in Mumbai was willing to produce that play. I talked to everybody. I talked to Alec Padamsee, Barjor Patel, who were big producers. Yeah. And they said, Bharat, this won't work. It's English theatre. You can't have shairi and you can't have Bhagavad Gita shloks and things in an English play. I wrote to P.L. Deshpande and I said, sir, I want to do this play in English. And he said, don't even attempt it. My play has been done in Hindi, Gujarati. It hasn't got the flavor of the original play. So English to sawal hi nahi. So I told him, sir, I'm in advertising. I've just joined advertising. I've written the play. I'll send it to you. If you say don't do it, I won't do it. So I sent my script to P.L. Deshpande. And he wrote a letter to me saying, Bharat, do this play without changing a single word, because this is the language the whole of India will be speaking 10 years from now.
Oh,
He's the only one who understood that.
wow. What vision.
And I took everybody from different theatres. I had Manmohan Krishna, who was Bollywood. So we had Manmohan Krishna, Harish Patel, Mohan Bhandari, Shahnaz Patel, Hansu Mehta from Gujarati. So they were all from different theatres. And that play was a huge success. And then I did a play called Bottoms Up.
Bottoms up, yeah.
So Bottoms Up till today is the longest running play in the history of English theatre. It kept on running. It created stars. I mean, people like Shamak Davar was just a dancer in my play. So he came and said, Bharat, I can sing. Can I sing a song in your play? Sunita Rao was a dancer. She said, Bharat, can I sing a song? Javed Jaffrey was a dancer.
Yeah.
Shahid Kapoor was a dancer. So he came and then Arshad Varsi was a dancer.
So all these
So all these guys were young guys who started in these kind of plays and went on and become
So the
stars.
break was given by him. So you need any breaks, you know who
No,
to
but
get to
break
catch with.
doesn't count. I had 12 dancers in every play. How come only one guy becomes Shamak Davar? I had 12 dancers. How come one guy becomes Shahid Kapoor? It's not the break, it's the initiative that they have and the push that they have.
You were also talking to me and telling me about that Mr. Patel who got into Bollywood. Please, he called you from London.
Who?
The guy who's doing something.
Harish Patel. Harish
Yeah,
Patel was a guy who used to act with Shafi Inamdar in a Hindi play.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to do the main role in this, my version of Tuzai Tsuzapashi in English. So I called up Harish and I said, Harish, I want you to do the play. And he said, Bharat, I can't speak English. I'm from Marwadi Vidyalay. मैं हिंदी play करता हूँ, अंग्रेजी नहीं आती मुझे. I said, look, I'll rehearse with you. He said, Bharat, but my accent is wrong. I said, Dan, that's the accent I want. He said, suppose I forget a line on stage, what do? I said, speak in Hindi, that line. So he did that. He became a star in our play. And then he went to London. Last year or year before, he won the Shakespeare Award for an English play. And this year, he acted in a Hollywood film with Angelina Jolie and all these people. Eternals. And he sent me a message saying, I remembered you, Bharat, because I was this Marwadi Vidyalay guy who didn't want to act in an English play. And 2 years ago, I won the Shakespeare Award in London. And today, I'm acting with Hollywood stars. So it's all a question of their determination.
It's
Everybody
amazing.
gets breaks.
Brilliant,
It's what you
brilliant.
do with it. And but except the point is, these guys have gone ahead. I'm still where I am.
No.
I'm still
That's again your
चलो,
humility.
नए आदमी आके करते हैं. They all go. Arshad Varsi is a star. Shahid Kapoor is the biggest star, and Javed Jaffrey is a star. Shamak Davar has 10,000 students. I'm still doing what I was doing then.
You are living life,
I'm
right?
having fun.
There was a time when one of your ad was criticized by Shiv Sainiks, and then Bala Sahib himself said ki चांगलं आहे वगैरे.
Yeah. So I used to
And,
do, I'll tell you that incident.
जाणता राजा इंग्लिश मध्ये केलं त्याचे.
Yeah. Now, I used to do hoardings in Marathi during Ganpati. So once I had a beautiful picture of Ganpati, the statue of Ganpati, and the girl was standing in front of him, and she was having a slice of butter on her plate. And we normally say Ganpati Bappa Moria. So I had Ganpati with slice of bread in his hand, and the line was Ganpati Bappa more ghya, take more. So that hoarding went up, and I got a letter from a lawyer in Mumbai, some 20-page letter, saying that I'm a regular consumer of Amul butter, but your latest hoarding has hurt my religious feelings. In Hinduism, you cannot show a Hindu god holding bread in his hand. Because in his letter, he said, in the olden days, Christian missionaries would throw a slice of bread in a well. And if you drank water from that well, you got converted to Christianity. So because you've shown the god holding bread, I write to inform you that I've stopped eating Amul butter from today. Then he added a proviso. He said, but if you give me a word that you will never repeat this hoarding again, I may reconsider my decision. Now, we never repeat hoarding. But I said, why tell him we never do it? So I wrote him a small 4-line letter saying, the idea was not to hurt your feelings. I said, Ganpati is a fun god. Other gods are quite frozen. Ram is Ram, Lakshman, Sita, Hanuman. That's a frozen figure. Krishna is Radha Krishna. But Ganpati is shown as a cricketer. He plays the guitar, he dances, he does all kinds of things. But I said, if it has hurt your feelings, I give you my personal assurance, I'll never repeat this hoarding again. That guy sent me a 30-page letter. I think lawyers can't write briefly, you know. They can't say, okay, I agree or I disagree. He said, I refer to my earlier letter dated so and so, wherein I had mentioned he mentioned all the points again. Thereafter, I refer to your reply to that letter saying, he reproduced my reply. And again, he said, on the basis of your assurance, I am happy to inform you that I've started eating Amul butter again. So that year we got that guy back. So next year when I did the Amul hoarding, I had the same Ganpati Murti. He had nothing in his hand that he shouldn't have. The normal Murti, whatever it has, he had. The girl had an empty plate. And the line was, Ganpati Bappa, more dya. Give me more.
Okay.
Now I said, that hoarding can't get us into trouble because Ganpati Murti is exactly as it should be. Girl has got nothing in her plate. The Amul Mumbai office got a call from somebody who said, I'm calling from the Shiv Sena Shakha. I'm the Shakha Pramukh of Chowpatty. If you don't remove this hoarding in the next 48 hours, we'll burn it down. Today, Guilherme said, look, there's a threat. Let's change the hoarding. I said, let's not be in a hurry. Let's try and talk to somebody in Shiv Sena. I didn't know anybody in Shiv Sena that time. I know all of them now. So I tried to get a list of Shiv Sena leaders. Chhagan Bhujbal, I mean, all those guys were in Shiv Sena that time. Manohar Joshi, Chhagan Bhujbal, Sudhir Joshi, Pramod Navalkar. Nobody was available. So in desperation, I phoned up Balasaheb Thackeray. And I said, sir, can I get an appointment to come and see you? And he said, I come to Shiv Sena Bhavan tomorrow morning. So I took that copy of the hoarding and I went to him. And I said, sir, what's wrong with this hoarding? And he said, nothing. I'm a cartoonist myself. I'm a big fan of Amul butter hoardings. I don't think anybody from Shiv Sena will threaten this, but if you're scared, I'll tell the Shakha Pramukh to give you protection. So I came to the office and I said, I spoke to Balasaheb and he said he'll ask the Shakha Pramukh to give us protection for the hoarding. So he said, no, but Shakha Pramukh has called up and said that he'll burn the hoarding. So we had a long discussion, kya karna hai? Then I said, look, I'll tell you what, let's keep the hoarding. Let's hope somebody burns it down. If they burn it down, what will happen? In the next 5 minutes, people like Arnab Goswami, Rajdeep Sardesai, Barkha Dutt, they'll all be there. For the next 10 days, there'll be nothing on television except what is happening to our country. They'll call me for a discussion. They'll call Dr. Kurian for it. I said, we don't have that kind of budget to advertise. Free advertising milegi humko. So Amul, the Ganpati hoarding, which I would normally remove in 10 days, I kept on for 25 days. Even if I was outside the office, I would phone them up. Kisi ne jalaya kya hoarding? And they would say, nahi sir, aisa hi hai. Then after 25 days, we had to pull it down. So after that year, I did not do ever a hoarding on Ganpati again. Because I think what is happening is we are getting a bit too insensitive about these things. You know? You can't say anything about Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. Anything that you say, people find some fault in that. So 2 things keep away from. One is religion and second is women. No matter what you say about women, somebody comes and says that is wrong, that's being sexist. So stick to sports, stick to cricket, stick to football. You're safe there. Nobody objects to anything like that. You know?
But don't you think we are becoming oversensitive as a society, or hypocrisy more than oversensitive, you know?
That is because of social media. You see what is happening is now social media gives you, it spreads like wildfire. Earlier, only your friends would know if you don't like something. Who would know? Now social media, the whole thing becomes a national issue, which is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. The freedom is lost to express in terms of advertising also.
But I'll tell you one thing. If you stay away from religion and women, you're fine. You can do what you want. Nobody will object to anything that you say. Religion, don't touch it. Whether it's Hindu, Muslim, Christian,
but politics has become equally sensitive today. You mentioned something
about... No, politics is easy. If you say something nasty about Modi, you're safe.
Why you get trolls?
Don't say anything bad about anybody else. Modi, you can say what you want. I call him a Teflon politician. Nothing happens to him. I had done that line for him. Abki baar Modi Sarkar. I never got the credit or money for that. But I had that registered in my name.
I was going to come to that. You can please tell about that, yeah.
So I had done many lines. At that time we didn't know that Modi was the BJP choice. So we had done Abki baar Modi Sarkar, Abki baar BJP Sarkar, Jab Congress aayi hai, Kamar Tod Mahangai hai, all kinds of things we had done. Then finally they approved this line. But I would go and help all the other parties also. 4 months ago, I helped Aam Aadmi Party open their office in Mumbai.
Oh really? How is that? Tell us about that, yeah.
Huh?
How did that happen?
Aam Aadmi Party, I said, anybody wants to do some good work, I'll help you. I'll vote for Modi, but I'll help them. Then somebody had gone to Dombivli for a talk. So somebody said, sir, abhi aapko fir se karna hai, to kya karenge Modi ki line? I said, I can't think of, but I can say, Har bar Modi Sarkar. But honestly speaking, that line is not very creative because you can replace Modi with anything else. Even that time when we were doing this, it was Abki bar Jetli Sarkar, Abki bar Sushma Swaraj Sarkar. The best line was when Atal Bihari Vajpayee's campaign was on. That line was Abki bari Atal Bihari.
Yeah.
Or when Jayaprakash Narayan was there, it was Andhere mein ek Prakash, Jayaprakash,
Prakash.
Jayaprakash. Yeah. Those were lines which were brilliant. Abki bar Modi Sarkar is okay.
But it worked.
It worked.
So many things
But
probably.
slogans always work in politics. When Indira Gandhi did Garibi Hatao,
Now,
that worked. When you said Chale Jao, Bharat thing, anything that is a slogan, people don't remember speeches.
yeah.
They remember slogans. So it's like advertising for political parties is the same as advertising for a product.
Political personality branding has become a huge business now. Huge.
Because of television. See, because of television, earlier we had, but no political leader had that kind of exposure. I think Indira Gandhi was a great brand at one point of time.
Yes.
Although, according to me, I wrote a book on, not a book, a chapter on this. The best marketed brand in a good way was Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
Mahatma Gandhi did everything right. Whatever we think of, packaging, sloganing. See, Mahatma Gandhi could have worn like everybody else, kurta and pajama, or chudidar and kurta, or dhoti or whatever. Why did he dress up like that? That's what we call packaging. That packaging has to say something about you. He did the whole thing about traveling with poor people. I'm the man of the masses. Third class, I'll travel by. So he did everything right.
Without a plan, probably.
Without any media support at that time.
Yes.
He had a photographer. I was helping Raj Thackeray do a photo biography of Balasaheb Thackeray. So I used to go and sit in his house and he showed me all the photographs of Balasaheb Thackeray and they all looked so common. Some rallies, Bala Thackeray with his family, with the Alsatian dog. I said, all of us have those kinds of photographs. So I asked Raj, I said, don't you have some more interesting photographs? He said, who has more interesting photographs? The only person who had was Mahatma Gandhi. He had a photographer for him for 24 hours at that time.
Oh, really? Is that true?
So Mahatma Gandhi's photographs, you will find Mahatma Gandhi thinking, Mahatma Gandhi shaving.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
The kinds of photographs that Mahatma Gandhi has, he showed me the books. He said, which other leader would have photographs like this?
So Modi is following him.
Modi is following him, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
So, okay, I've just been indicated that our time is more or less done with. Yeah. So, but one last bit about that gem. One can talk to him for hours, of course, but one doesn't have that kind of liberty here. About the auto rickshaw, please. He used to go to his office. He bought an auto rickshaw. Can we have it from you?
It's a long story. I'll say it in a brief way.
Yeah. Advertising 30
See, I
seconds.
realized long back in life that no matter how much money we earn, we can't afford a Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce costs about 10 crores or 12 crores. You can afford a Mercedes. You can get a second-hand Mercedes for 3 crores, or for 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs. You can buy a BMW. You can buy an Audi. You can't ever think of owning a Rolls Royce. So if you buy a Mercedes, there's no big deal. There are 10,000 Mercedes on the road. So I said, let's buy an auto rickshaw. So I thought auto rickshaw is very cheap. At that time, this is about 15 years back, I found that the Bajaj auto rickshaw without the hood was costing some 1,20,000 rupees. So I said, I don't want to spend so much money on an auto rickshaw. So I bought a second-hand auto rickshaw for 17,000 rupees. Then I put a Chor Bazaar I bought a Maruti seat and put it inside. Then I went and it's completely open. It's got an acrylic top. Then I had a house in Worli that time in Mumbai. So I found a chap who makes those Harley Davidson stickers. And I made a sticker called Worli Davidson. And I put it on the rickshaw. And I got a license. That RTO guy laughed at me. He said, "Kyun, sir?" I said, no, I want to ride a rickshaw. I can take it anywhere in Mumbai. And I get more people coming and taking photographs of the rickshaw than if I had a Rolls Royce.
You went to that.
I always tell people, don't get rich, be creative.
Exactly.
Better off.
So as you can see, we can go on and on, but yeah, there's another session to happen here, so we need to end here. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I've enjoyed talking to him. Thanks so much for being such a lovely audience. Thank you, Bharat. Thanks a lot.
Subscribe to Nation Next YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get regular updates from Nation Next. Also like Nation Next Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.